Welcome to the Simple Kicking Show. I'm your host, James Hairston. Today is the 28th of April. It's the NFL Draft round number 1, which commences this evening from Las Vegas. And today's show, we have New York Giants kicker Gano, one of the best in the NFL. But before we get into the show, let's talk about Big Game USA and how or if they can help you in your kicking. They manufacture almost all of the footballs in college football, and they're made right here in Dallas, Texas. For 10% off your kicking football order, go to biggameusa.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and tap Kicker Footballs. Use the code SIMPLEKICK2021 for 10% off your kicking football order. Now, today's episode with Graham is interesting because the very first kick that he had in college did not go as planned. So if your career started off on a bad foot, and during your career you had injuries, wouldn't you expect that to be shorter or an abbreviated playing career? In this episode, we find out why that is not the case. Enjoy the show with Gano. Lee, hit the theme.
Welcome to Simple Kicking with your host, James Hairston.
Okay, so one of my favorite kickers to follow is Gano, and super pumped to have him on the show today. Graham, thanks for joining the Simple Kicking Show, brother.
I appreciate it, James. I'm excited to be here, man. Let's talk some kicking.
Yeah. So tell me how you got into kicking. In pre-show, you told me you grew up in Northwest Florida, but that's about it. That's all I heard.
Yeah, so I grew up playing soccer. I was born in Scotland, and that was my dream as a kid, was to play for the Scottish national team, just really to play pro soccer in general. That was my first love, and I grew up watching my brothers playing, and have 4 brothers and a sister. So I'm the youngest of all of them, so I grew up wanting to be just like them and play. So we ended up, moving all over the world, moved to Florida. And that was, I wanted to play travel ball and ended up going to high school. And I went out for summer school. And this was before cell phones. And, my family only had one car. So they dropped me off at summer school and I was there for the day. And so showed up, found out there was not enough guys for the soccer summer camp. And they wouldn't let me play with the girls team. And so my buddy said, hey, why don't you come kick a football? And I'd never done it before. So went out. Coach handed me a tee and said, go off on another field and start kicking. So I think I started, I probably had like a 15-yard approach to hit the ball off the tee. And I was hitting, I think, 40 to 50-yard field goals. And I had no idea if that was good or not. I just was trying to put it through the pipes. So that's how I got my start and been doing it ever since then.
What year was that?
This was 2001. And the summer of probably 2000, 2001. And I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never really – I grew up watching Florida State and the Dallas Cowboys with my dad. He was a Cowboys fan. So, yeah, that was as much as I watched the game. But and then the local players from Pensacola, and that was about it.
So a lot of the people listening right now were born in 2001.
That's crazy.
Who were the top soccer players? Like, who were your heroes?
Oh man, top soccer players back then. I was a goalkeeper, so Oliver Kahn was the goal. I growing up in Germany, I was a big fan of his. Man, who else back then? Now you're putting me in a tough spot.
Or top football players. Who were people you looked up to?
There was Emmett Smith was playing. He was from Pensacola. Derek Brooks. I think Sebastian Janikowski was probably kicking at Florida State around that time. I think 1999 is when he left. They won the national championship, and then he started playing for the Raiders, first round pick. And so I wanted to be just like him, once I started kicking. Man, there were some studs playing back then, but I wasn't watching a whole lot of football. It was only until sophomore, junior, senior year I really started following it. But I'm the old guy now. I'm starting to get grays and all that.
Yeah, you're the old guy that just figured, not too technically savvy, what's all this social media stuff? You got
That's
children
right.
of your own?
We have five. We have five kids, so I've got kid stuff all over the office in here, and so they're at school now. So if not, you would definitely be hearing them in the background. When the team does the Zoom meetings, they're like, "Graham, what's all that noise?" I'm like, "Sorry, it's my kids."
I
But
got a whole bunch of
it's
kids in the back.
I can hear them. It's reminding me of my own.
So when did the dream become college football instead of it being soccer, or is soccer still your dream and you're trying to find a way out of football?
That's right. I'm still a kid. My when I grow up, I want to be a soccer player.
Yeah.
I'm living through my kids' teams now. We're doing 3-4 soccer, and then my 8-year-old's playing, so I'm coaching those, and it's a lot of fun. Still living the dream through them. But I would say probably junior year of high school, we had a game, and they sent me out for a 57-yard field goal to win the game. I think there was like 37 seconds left on the clock, and I went out and made the kick, and it was interesting. So every time the team would score, they would light or fire off a cannon, and so there was smoke still on the field, like coming across, and the kick went up, went through the smoke, and you couldn't see it, and then until it came down, across the crossbar, and so everybody went crazy. People were kind of tackling me, and then the other team drove down the field and got into field goal range, but they didn't have a kicker, so we ended up winning the game. And after that is when people started saying, "Hey, you could do something with this. You could play in college. Maybe you'll be in the NFL one day." And so I think that moment is kind of when I realized I could possibly do something with it. And I've always, since I was little, been able to kick a ball a long way. I think God's just blessed me with that talent, and so I've tried to run with it, and I'll probably kick until my leg falls off.
Funny how God works with all this stuff, right? I think, hey, I
That's
didn't
true.
choose this gift. My foot and a ball, doesn't matter what kind of ball, they connect.
Yep, I'll kick anything. I'll kick rocks outside, and yeah, I've just always enjoyed it since I was little. Always been able to kick a ball in the air, so just yeah, I'm happy I have that ability.
Okay, so the go-ahead field goal, we'll call it through the fog. You have your
Yep.
moment, your coming out party of sorts. What happened after that? How did Florida State find you?
So I started going to camps. I think going into my senior year, I started hitting kickoffs through the uprights in high school. Kicking from the 40. It's Florida. The ball flies down there. It goes a little further than it does in East Rutherford, New Jersey. But started doing that. I think I started to hit some posts on kickoffs. And that's when coaches, start talking to each other, and they're like, "Hey, you should go here, you should go there." I remember being in West Virginia. It's where my dad was from, and I was kicking on a field there. And one of the coaches saw me putting the kickoffs through the end zone. It was in the mountains, so same thing. Ball was flying, and he said, "I've got some friends that coach at West Virginia. I'm going to put in a good word for you." But they had already signed some guy named Pat McAfee. So, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him, but he ended up kicking there. And I think that's kind of word of mouth started traveling. And my senior year, I had a couple longer field goals. I hit one from, I think it was 68, 65, 64, and then some other 50-yarders. So the word kind of started spreading from there, and started getting some interest. And Florida State actually recruited me as a punter. So that's what I was mainly at FSU. And then after going there, kicked field goals for 1 year and realized that was my dream.
Dude, you hit a 65-yard field goal in high school?
We did. Yep. We called it our Hail Mary field goal because in Florida, if the ball hits the end zone, it's a touchback. So our coach said, "Hey, we might as well try to get 3 points out of it." And I think that year we attempted 4 or 5 field goals over 60 yards. We had a 68-yard field goal. I think it was. It's been so long, I'm forgetting. It was either 68 or 71 yards. No, I think 68 went in, and there was a penalty. And it was a district game, so our coach took the penalty and said, "Hey, first down, we got to win this game." And we made that one, but it didn't count. And then I think we had a 71-yard field goal that they put the wrong like kicking ball in, and it was a flat ball, and I missed it by a yard short. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
I know it drove me nuts. I was pretty upset about that one, but yeah, the Hail Mary field goal. So we just went for it. Whenever we were close, he sent the field goal team out. Everybody thought we were punting, and we just went for it.
What a story. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
That is. You don't hear that. I mean, nowadays, if you do hear of that, it gets on ESPN and it goes viral.
Yeah. I remember being a kid and you'd see, other high school sports getting put on Sports Center. And so after I hit the 65-yarder, it was against Fort Walton Beach, which you had talked about in the pregame or pre-show.
Yeah.
That was actually to put us in the lead. I think we went up 10-7 at that point, and then we got blown out, destroyed. And it never made the internet. There wasn't Twitter, there wasn't Instagram, stuff like that. So dating myself right now, but yeah, I still got it. I think I just posted on my Instagram a little while back, but yeah, those were good times, good memories.
So how did the scholarship come about? What's the story there? I mean, before fast forwarding into Florida State, because I want to touch on that, how did you go from this kid with a big leg in high school to your coach, Bobby Bowden, right?
Yep.
Giving you a scholarship. What was that process?
So I went to a camp. I started going to the 2-day camps. That's what I heard. That's when you get the most exposure. They'll actually start looking at you for the schools. And so we had never really, we didn't know what to do. We had just been hearing from other guys that had played college ball, how to get your name out there. So I remember going to the University of Central Florida's camp, and George O'Leary was the coach. And he had kind of heard about different kicks I had done in my, I think it was junior year. And so he cleared the entire middle field out. And it was just me, him, and a few other guys, watching me kick. And so after I hit a few kicks, my dad went up to him and said, "Do you think my son has what it takes to kick at the college level?" And I remember him laughing and saying, "Yeah, for sure." He's like, "In fact, we're going to offer him a scholarship today." And he's like, "I think you can come in and compete for the job and, also have a chance to punt." And so I went online. I was like, I wonder who's kicking there right now. It's this guy named Matt Prater. And so, there's all these, I keep having these close run-ins with these really good specialists. But, from then on, it's kind of when I realized maybe I can do this, and went to Florida State's camp as well. I think I went there 3 or 4 years as a kid. And I think I came down with the flu the last day of camp when, they have their coaches out there to watch you. And the coach, his name was Ozzie All. He actually lives close to me here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And he said, "I really think you should come out and punt today. This is when they're all going to be watching." So I went out and punted and had a really good day, and they ended up offering me a scholarship then.
Wow. And you accepted it?
So I didn't actually know they had offered the scholarship, but it was weeks later. I was talking to Mickey Andrews, and he was the defensive coordinator at FSU. And I said, "Hey, coach, I'll come to Florida State if you guys offer me a scholarship." And he was like, "What are you talking about? We offered you a scholarship after that camp." And I had no idea. So I was walking in the mall in Pensacola and committed on the spot. And never looked back. That was my dream, was to be like Sebastian and win a national championship at FSU, but that didn't happen. It ended up working out.
So what was the experience like at Florida State? You play 4 years, you play 5 years, kind of what's the story there?
Yeah, so my first year was 2005 or 2006 season. And I went in, our kicker was an All-American, Gary Sismacia, and the punter was a senior. So the plan was for me to redshirt. And I think it was about 7 or 8 games into the season, they pulled my red shirt to kick off. And so I finished, I think it was the last 4 games as the kickoff guy, which I wasn't too happy about then. I wanted to play, but this was before you could redshirt and still play. And then, it still counted as a redshirt like it does now.
Yeah, retain your eligibility.
So once they played me, that was it. I was a sophomore the next year. And so went in, finished that season kicking off. The next year, the punter had graduated, and I became the punter there. And I think we had a guy come in, Brent Moody was his name. He punted at Louisville. So we shared punting duties. I think it was my junior or senior year. And no, it was my junior year. And so punted for 3 years. And my last season going into my senior year, I was slated to start at all three, punt, kicker, and kicking off. And tore my meniscus in my kicking leg punting in practice 2 weeks before the season. So I went, had a meeting with Bobby Bowden, had surgery, and thought I was going to medical redshirt. And then 2 games into the season, he was like, "We need you to kick if you can." So this is 4 weeks after surgery. I ended up playing my first college game kicking field goals against Wake Forest. Went out. They said I was only going to kick short ones. So my first field goal was 52 yards, and I missed it. I know. I was like, this isn't exactly a short one, but I think I missed it wide left, and I looked down at the holder, and I was like, that was awesome. And he looked up at me like, "What are you talking about? You missed the kick." And I said, "This has been my dream ever since I started kicking, was to kick field goals at Florida State." And I was like, "Yeah, I know I missed it, but I can do this." And so made my next 17. I think I don't remember what. I think I finished 24 of 26 and won the Groza. And it was just a dream come true. Total God moment there as well. Couldn't have planned that myself. Having surgery the 2 weeks before the season and finishing the year like I did. So it was a dream come true.
You see kids throw their helmets and with a hissy fit if they miss. And you said, that was awesome.
I thought, he looked up at me like I was nuts. He was like, something's wrong with this guy. And I think I went 1 for 2 that game, or 2 for 3. And I was so excited after that miss. And because literally that was a dream of mine. I had to wait 4 or 3 years to kick at FSU because the guy before me he was a great kicker. And when I got that chance, I ran with it. Even though I missed the kick, I was like, hey, it's 50+ yarder. Why beat myself up over it? I might as well just go out and make the rest of them. So that was kind of my mindset. And that's, I try to always have a positive mindset about things. Once you miss the kick, there's nothing you can do about it. You might as well not worry about it. So yeah, that was a fun time at FSU.
So God blessed you with plus power, right? Like you've got plenty of power, but that mindset, that's rare. I guess
that's just always the way I've thought. I've always chosen to surround myself with positive people and think positively. I know you're good friends with my special teams coordinator, Thomas McGahee, and he'll tell you that's how I am, kind of carefree, and I don't let much bother me. The fans can say anything they want about me, and I just let it roll. So it's that's just the attitude I choose to take.
Do you have to practice that attitude? Is it just a God-given thing? Is it a little bit of both? Again, this is rare, so I'm trying to tap into what this mindset is and where it comes from.
I won't lie. I get a little fired up at times. So he'll tell you that as well. But I choose to be that way. You can only control what you can control. And if I hit a good ball and God decides to say, hey, the wind's going to be 30 miles an hour at MetLife, let's blow this one out of there. That is what it is. I'm still going to be upset about it, but once I go to the sideline, I know I got to be ready for the next kick. And, there's until my last days of playing ball, hopefully there's always going to be the next kick. And that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah. T-Mac would call it one snap and clear.
That's right. He still does it.
Okay. So now you win the Groza. You're seemingly on top of your game. You get drafted 10 years ago. Do you not get drafted? Undrafted.
Undrafted. Yeah. So it was it 2006? 8? I think it was the 2008 draft or something like that. And I was on Mel Kiper's board for the top guy the last day or so. And I went undrafted. Got to see Ryan Suckup drafted as the Mr. Irrelevant last pick of the draft. And so it was kind of cool because I got to choose where I wanted to go. And Matt Stover was the kicker for Baltimore, and he had just retired. And so I chose to go there, learn under Randy Brown and compete against Steve Hauschka. And so Steve ended up winning that job, and I learned so much there. It was awesome. Getting beat out for the job wasn't fun, but it was, looking back at it, it was probably what I needed in that moment, because I still had a lot of learning and a lot of growth to happen. And from there, wasn't getting any calls, so I signed with the Las Vegas Locos in the UFL, and we ended up winning the championship. And then I went to the Washington Redskins and played there for 3 years, and then Carolina for I think I was there for 8, and then got injured there and got picked up by the Giants. So hopefully I'm done getting injured. Normally something good happens after I get injured, but I'm trying not to get injured anymore.
You're just trying to injure the score for the other team by being so dang good.
Oh man, I'm just trying to enjoy the game and play my part.
Well, it's very enjoyable to watch you play. Specifically talking about that injury that you had in Charlotte, dude. They couldn't cut you for performance issues. You'd been there for 8 years, but dude, you get cut.
Yep, got released. That was tough. That was one of my tougher moments because I love Carolina. I mean, this is still home for us. I loved playing for that team, that city. The organization was fantastic. So, I mean, I can't say anything bad about them, besides the way it was handled. But, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But as far as the team's concerned, love that place. And that was tough. I went from being told it was one injury to finding out it was potential career ending. And had a surgery done. I had a fracture through my femur, and it was just from basically planting in soft ground, and the femur and knee were hitting bone on bone, and then it started to die. So that was fun. And so they had to put somebody else's femur inside of mine, and surgery hadn't been done a whole lot. So imagine like plugging a golf course, or like a green. You take out the plug and then make a new hole. That's what they had to do in 4 different spots in my femur. So I think that was about 9 to 12 months I was out, and then when I was ready to play again, the Panthers let me go, and New York gave me a shot, and I've been rolling with it ever since.
Which was crazy because what was happening in New York at the time is they had a kicker that was pretty good, big, strong leg. There was some kind of off the field, whatever. He is finding his way out. They have a personnel issue, and they get you basically off the street, right? Like, what was that process like of like, okay, released from Carolina, unemployed?
Yeah, I didn't know if I'd play again, honestly, and I was just hoping I would get another chance. I wanted to kind of prove it to myself I could still do it and play for my kids. My kids love watching me play, and playing the game is fun for me. Football has been fantastic for me and my family, and I enjoy playing the game. So I think you find a lot of guys that play it for one reason or another, and then you have the guys that actually love it, and I'm one of those guys. So I remember I was kicking at the middle school field down the street, filming myself kicking on the middle school uprights and sending it to different teams saying, hey, I can still kick, if you give me a chance. And so New York was one of the few teams that was willing to give me a shot, and they signed me. And I can say it now. I didn't know if my leg was going to make it through that season, but God had other plans, and I went up there and it was fortunate to have some good opportunities.
Yeah, it sounds like what Thomas Morstead has said on the podcast, which was, the guys who really love it, they're going to stick with it, and they really love it so much that they're not willing to quit.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've always said I don't want to. I would love to go out on my own terms. I always respect the guys that are able to do that are able to hang it up and say, like, I'm ready to be done. So, and I've always wanted to end on a make. My last kick of my career, I want it to be a make, and that's how I do things in practice. Like if I miss a kick and it's the end of practice, I'm I'm going somewhere else and making a kick. I'm not ending on a miss. And so my last game in Carolina, I think we had played the Bucks. My femur was already messed up then, or I don't remember what it was, but my last kick was a make. So I was like, well, if this is it for me, I'm good. Like I can walk away from the game knowing I made my last kick. But yeah, so kicking in New York wasn't what isn't a absolute dream scenario for a guy coming off a femur injury. It's a very windy place. It gets cold there quickly. But I just trusted it, had a fantastic holder and snapper up there and rolled with it. So it's an amazing team to play for. The history of the Giants is fantastic. So,
Totally.
Yeah, it's pretty fun playing up there.
Dude, and after 8 games, you got a 3-year extension?
Yeah. We let's see, I think I signed a contract before we played the Eagles in the middle of that season. And went out there, and the game came down to a field goal to like seal the deal. And I had already signed that extension, but it wasn't public. So I said, man, I better make this kick or else the fans are going to be upset. So we made it. And then, it was announced that I signed the extension. And then that night I got COVID. So it was an eventful week. So
oh my gosh!
Luckily, it was our bye week. I think we had the night game, had the bye week, and then I got cleared the following Saturday, and then we played the Bengals in Cincinnati. That was rough. I almost passed out about 3 times on the sideline that game, but that was a fun game as well.
Oh my gosh, dude! You gotta. So there's a story of positivity, resilience, and a little bit of like. Part of that resilience is triumph, right? Like there's like, hey, I got over the world of suck of sorts, right?
Yeah. I feel like I've gotten a lot of that thrown at me in my life. A lot of adversity, I guess you could say. And I've always believed it's how you respond to that adversity. You could either choose to go one way or the other. And I've, no matter what it is. And I've always chosen, like I was saying, to choose the positive path, to, even if it's hard, you got to keep a mindset of you're going to get through it. I've got my wife, we were dating at Florida State. She's the better athlete out of the two of us. She played softball there, was all conference player. Like she's incredible, but she helped me get through that. I've always had people around me and been a strong believer in surrounding myself with people who are better than myself, and they will encourage me to be like them. So I've always had an amazing group around me and they've helped me every step of the way. So, whenever something bad happens, I've always got good people to lift me up.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it was when you talk about that Philadelphia kick, you said you didn't say I made the kick. You said we made the kick.
For sure. Yeah. It's a lot more goes into it than just me kicking that ball. It's got to be good protection. It's got to be good snap, good hold. And I've got the easy job once all that's done, and that's set perfectly. All I got to do is close my eyes and swing.
Once that ball with the foot in the ball make contact, you don't have any control after that.
Nope, it's all the reps at practice that go into it. So it's been a fun journey. I'm enjoying every bit of it. Would like to win a lot more games, and I feel good about it. I'm excited about the draft tonight. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, what are you looking at? Last question, and we're going to have to do this again because I feel like we're just kind of getting started, and I know listeners of the Simple Kicking Show, they know a good episode when they hear one, and I know this is one that they're kind of like, no, don't cut it short. But we got to because Graham's got 5 babies, and we can always do this again. What are you most excited for in the NFL draft tonight? Is part 1 of the question, and I'll ask part 2 after that.
Well, every year I'm happy if they don't draft a kicker on the team that I'm on. So I'm hoping there's no Sebastian Janikowski's of this draft, first round. I'm excited. We have 2 first-round picks, and I'm excited to see what we do. There's a lot of speculation. We could trade them. We could use them. I'm not in the front office, so I have no idea what we're doing. Everybody likes to call me and ask me, who are you guys going to pick? And I'm like, I don't know. But the last time that I was on a team that drafted a kicker, it was Carolina. And they drafted this kid named Harrison Butker, and he's pretty dang good today. He's a good friend of mine. You know, I root for him every single time I see him kick. But the night we drafted Harrison, my wife went into labor with our son. So that was a fun story. But yeah, I'm excited to see who we get. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always a fun time. And
so
I
when we have you back on,
part of the story, I'm rambling.
No, we're gonna get you on to talk about the Butker, and we might actually do a little roundtable with like you, Butker, and Prater, and some of your other. That might be a fun little roundtable. Cool. But here's the second part of the question, and this is the final question with Gano, kicker for the New York Giants. You went undrafted in 2008.
Yep.
Knowing what you know now, as you were lacing it up for the Las Vegas Locos, or you had been beaten out by Hauschka, what do you tell Graham Gano 13, 14 years ago?
Man, I'd say don't give up. You know, if you've got something you believe in, go after it. Keep pushing. Learn from those guys. You know, I've been fortunate enough to play with a lot of great kickers. And Steve, I mean, if you look at his history in the league, he did a fantastic job. So don't be afraid of the competition. You know, learn from it. If you get beat, learn from it. Try to take as much you can from the guy you're competing with. And also, I mean, same thing when Harrison was here. I mean, he was lights out, and he made me a better kicker. So, you know, I always feel like you got to learn from the guys and just roll with the punches and keep going.
So, Graham, if someone wants to find out more about you, how can they follow you? How can they find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram. I post on there a lot. Post a lot about my family. When I start kicking, I post a lot of kicking videos. So if you got questions on there, just reach out to me. Or you can ask them on the show. Maybe we can do something live on here sometime. So this has been fun. I know we haven't talked a lot of details about kicking, but we can get into that as well sometime.
We can definitely get into the weeds. You're always welcome on the Simple Kicking Show, and I appreciate you joining. It's been really fun to connect with you. Seriously, this has been awesome.
I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like or subscribe by tapping on the icons below. And make sure to check out Simple Kicking on the web, simplekicking.com, on social media. And if you haven't already, please download the Simple Kicking app and find out whether or not tracking your kicks and punts is something that's a helpful tool for you.